The Daily Ramble on Claret and Booze. Good afternoon and welcome to the Daily Ramble here on Claret and Booze. My name's Gary and we've got a congested Daily Ramble for you today. Lots of good stuff around the transfer window. We'll come to that later, but a few very interesting things to start with. So let's dive straight in. Before we do, please could you, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, and I know many of you haven't, judging by the stats, please could you subscribe to the channel, Claret and Booze on YouTube, hit the bell notification icon, and please give the video a like. So, pre-season has actually started, believe it or not. That's come around quickly, hasn't it? We haven't even finished the Euros yet. All those players that were involved in the Euros are obviously not doing pre-season at this stage. I think they come back just before the Florida. I think that's the first game, actually, when we played Palace and Wolves in Florida. I think that's when those Euros players come back. But it started. Guilherme and Wes Foderingham are going to be turning up at a revamped Rush Green. Apparently 5 million has been spent, much needed as well, revamping the training facilities, thank God. Another unexpected player who's going to be joining us is Andy Irving, a Scottish midfielder, who we signed from Austrian Bundesliga side SC Klagenfurt for 1.5 million last year. He was loaned back immediately, and he'll be training with the team. So he's a midfielder, as you know. Midfielders, that's kind of where we want to go. He can play central attacking midfielder, or he can play. He's 1.9 meters tall. I haven't got a clue what that is in feet. Quite tall though, almost 2 meters. He's got 14 goals and 12 assists in 59 Austrian Bundesliga games. So that's quite promising. He can also play defensive midfield as well, right? So interesting with the news that Alvarez is likely going to be out for quite some time. So over the last couple of days, I must admit my appetite for football has kind of diminished a little bit throughout the Euros, because it's brought back nasty memories of last season, right? With the negativity. Negativity has just been too much for me to tolerate with these England performances. The other night we got out of jail, thank God. You just got to hope, game on game, that things get a bit better. But nonetheless, this is why I haven't been doing many rambles, because my appetite for football has just gone away. However, yesterday my appetite came back. It came back with a vengeance, because I was sitting there feeling sorry for myself, thinking, what the bloody hell are West Ham doing? When we're going to sign some players? I've got to watch this crap England team with Gareth Southgate doing his best impression of David Moyes. Well, that was all cured. All my morose mood was uplifted yesterday with the presser, the first presser to feature Tim Steidten and Julian Lopetegui. And it was a real brilliant, genuine presser that really lifted my mood massively. And if you haven't watched it, go and watch it, because it will lift your mood as well, I promise you. First of all, some real key things that came out of there. We have money. We don't need to sell to buy. That's the first thing, right? I'll come to that in a second, actually. In fact, why don't I come to it now? Let's do this in order, right? So there is an update on West Ham Way, actually giving, from X, giving what he thinks we've got to spend at the moment. If you do the maths, basically what's left at the moment, apparently after Benrahma and everything else, is 63.3 million quid. But to be added into that probably will be around about 30 million for Aguerd, some money for Flynn Downs, unless it goes, otherwise, some money for Danny Ings. And there'll be a lot of money saved off the wage bill as well, don't forget. By the way, I don't buy this. I've said it all along. I don't buy that we've got no money to spend at all. I think we have got money to spend, because, frankly, it would be ridiculous if we didn't spend it in this window anyway, because of the way this FPR works, is that... is it FPR? Bloody hell, acronyms. Anyway, financial fair play, whatever it's called today, it's based on not making a loss over a 3-year period beyond a certain amount. And, because of our European exploits, we're actually in a prime position to buy at the moment. Don't want to explain it again. We've done this before, but, now is the summer where we need to be spending. It's the time we need to be spending, right? So I'm not going to buy this, because if we don't spend the money, it means we're saving money for January. Why would we do that when we need players now, especially with the injury to Alvarez? Anyway, look, back onto the presser. So that was the first thing. It was actually more hopeful than anything else. Darren Farley, if you've watched him, he does the impressions of the managers, and who's the old Norwich manager? He used to do this silly German accent. He's like, "Oh yes, lots of prime German sausage from Delia," and then the Rafa Benitez one where he kept talking about the football club, the club, and he'd have a field day with this presser because, you know, Tim sounds exactly like that. He can't pronounce his R's. It's very, very in profile and stuff like that. And he's kind of typical. And obviously he sounds like Rafa Benitez. He sounds like Darren Farley's version of Rafa Benitez, right? So I found that put a smile on my face for a start. They were both so genuine and actually responded with respect to the people who answered the question, who asked the questions. There was one exception to the rule, by the way, the one who's a bit of a tit, and Gonzo mentioned this on his channel, and that is Moose from Talksport, doing what Moose does, asking a stupid question. Are you going to play football like Ange Postecoglou to make the fans happy? Moose, you know the answer to that. Shut up, you tit. Right, anyway, let's go back on to what they actually said. Now, first of all, Tim was talking about what kind of coach he was looking for, and this is clearly a lot of digs at the previous regime. He said, "We were looking for an ambitious coach who showed a hunger to achieve more. It was also important to bring someone in who fitted our profile in terms of style of play, philosophy, communication, and integrating young players. Julian, or Julian as he kept calling him, I prefer Julian, by the way, fits that profile, and he also speaks 4 languages, which is key. Not 3, 4. After the first meeting we had with Julian, I thought, that's his name now, it ain't Julian, it's Julian. I was 100% convinced that he was the right coach for us. And you can tell the body language between them, it's not being put on. They seem to be really comfortable in each other's presence. And Lopetegui, having worked for a director of football so many times in his career, familiar with the model and the way it works, a bit of a freak of a model for West Ham, but this is the way the football world works now, and it was lovely to see the dynamic between the two of them. Really, really good, and I think some shared responsibility maybe between them as well. He said West Ham is the London club. You've only got to look at the fans in the stadium, 62,500, biggest crowd in London, 66 soon. That's asking for trouble, isn't it? He spoke again about the ambience or the environment around the Sevilla game when he came and lost that marvelous night. And he said to himself, that very night, he said, "I would like to be here one day." That's a German. As a club, it was special. It was a special, he said. Ambience is going to be extra energy that we need, he said. There are no limits, he said. You can dream, but you need to work very hard to achieve your dream. We believe in us. We will have one stamp as a club and as a team. And I want to put these demands inside the minds of the players. Asked about signing players, Tim said it's very, very important. The profile of player and the relationship to Julian is very important. We speak every day. Moose from Talksport can fuck off. I've covered that already. Lopetegui said, the trying to answer Moose's question about whether he's Ange Postecoglou, he kind of said, he spoke about the way we would play, and we'll go into every game thinking we could win it, which in itself is a massive improvement, let's be honest, because we'd lost half of those games under Moyes before we set foot on the pitch, the way we set up, right? Oh, let's just concentrate on defending and stopping them from scoring if we can. So he said, and I really like this, he said, we'll be ready for the really bad moments, most of all. The good moments are easy to deal with, but the bad moments are the ones that are more difficult to deal with, and that much is true, right? So we will have ambition in every game, and I love that. It's about bloody time. There's no reason why you shouldn't. The teams are out there, Villa, Wolves, everyone, even not Wolves, but Villa. They had ambition in every game. Why shouldn't we? Of course we should, right? spoke about Paqueta affectionately, and the fact that Tim has spoken to him. They've also spoken with Alvarez, who he's doing his first bit of rehabilitation with the Mexico team over there. He limped into that first session today, apparently. But yeah, what a refreshing change to see a unified team at the top working hand in hand. I really hope this is successful because it could be an amazing thing if he gets the players. If the way it works is that Lopetegui tells Tim what he needs. Julian tells Tim what he needs. Tim goes out and finds the players and then confirms that they're what Lopetegui wants, which is it's got to be ideal. No one's got enough time in the day. He can get on with running the team, running the squad, keeping the players happy, keeping them motivated, getting to know their families and all that shit. All that good stuff, the good soft skills that a manager should be doing. But because Moyes wanted to do everything, spread himself too thinly, he didn't have time for any of that soft nonsense. That soft nonsense is important, especially when you're talking about the modern football player. Really important to treat them well. Okay, so that's enough with a press conference. Let's talk about the ins and outs, the transfer news today as it stands. The biggest news is that Mohamed Kudus, the buyout clause of 85 million, expired yesterday. So he's staying. That clause doesn't open again until next summer, when he'll be worth an absolute fortune, and there will be a bidding war, I'd imagine, with many top clubs. If he carries on progressing the way he progressed, let's face it, we've got a fucking superstar on our hands there. Wan-Bissaka, he's being linked. He's in the last year of his contract, so that could be a cheeky offer to get a very, very good player at right back. Also, obviously, we've been linked with Kyle Walker-Peters, KWP, JWP. What are they all something WP anyway? He would be a decent right back as well. Wouldn't be as good as Wan-Bissaka, but it'd be a decent right back. It would be with a heavy heart, I must admit, that we see Flynn Downs go to Southampton, because I personally believe with being a regular fixture in the first team, which he will be at Southampton in the Premier League, I think he will establish himself as a very good, solid Premier League central defensive midfielder. He will. I cannot see that going any other way. And to see him having to watch him do that at Southampton is a bit of a kick in the nuts, really. Especially because we need that position filled for up to the first couple of months of the season. So I'm really surprised that we're doing that, but let them do what they want to do. But that Carl Walker-Peters and Flynn Downs thing has kind of gone quiet, as has the Danny Ings news. I suspect there's something going on in the background, but nothing's happened yet. In the next news, Jota on the wing, Jota on the wing. This is Nick's song. Could be going mainstream if Jota actually joins us. Does this make Nick a psychic that he saw into the future when he put that song together? If you haven't heard it, good song, but that could be played to death next season, because he's in the last 12 months, coming up to the last 12 months of his contract, which means his current club, Vitória de Guimarães, they would be forced to maybe settle for less money or end up having him leave on a free. Nobody wants that if you've got players in the last 12 months of contract. So whilst there is a 17 million buyout clause, I expect we're trying to negotiate that down a little bit. Surely that is the right thing to do, yeah? This is the game, right? This is the game. It's not only finding good young players who can turn into, pearl diver, who you can turn into good, expensive, established players. It's also to find players who are maybe playing at a good level stats-wise. It's like the Moneyball thing. You could get them for $2 because they're on a little bit of the older side, maybe. You could bring them in. Players who are in a time of their contract where it's a good time to do a bit of business. That would be Jota, that would be Wan-Bissaka, right? Another guy that would be in deal with, linked with, is Clement Lenglet or Lenglet, I don't know. Frenchman, Lenglet it'll be, won't it? He's on loan. He's been on loan to Spurs and Villa, centre half. Good player. Played quite regularly for those two teams as well in the Premier League. He joined Barcelona in 2018. French international. He's a good player. And he could be available on loan again, and we might go after getting him again. It's good use of money, right? And that's what all of this is about. If you can get someone like him, an established centre half, on loan, and he's going to serve us for a season, I mean, that's exactly what we need, and that'll take us up to the end of. I can't remember. I think Zuma's got 1 year left, maybe 2 years left. I don't know, but I doubt we're going to find a buyer for Zuma unless someone wants to use him for spare parts. I don't know. But that would be a real quality deal, I think. You don't need to own people outright. A good loan is good enough. A player who's a little bit older, who Clement Lenglet is 29, so it might be that we could get him on loan with a view to buy. I don't know. Or it might be just a stopgap. But either way, this is sensible use of funds. And I think when you look at it, let's take it as read that 63 million rising to 100 million with the additional sales is the budget, the remaining budget. I think when you look at putting deals together like this, intelligent deals, not just paying flat out for people out of your available budget, I think there is a way to get really good value for money. And by the way, when we're talking about Max Kilman for 45 million, and Nick touched on this on his show, said the 45 million is probably too much to us. It's the right price for Wolves because they've got to pay a 20% sell on to his previous club, that Alan Devonshire manages. Now, because there's no reason for Wolves to sell otherwise, because they're going to need to buy a replacement, and so why would they sell him for? I see their point of view completely, right? I'm not saying he's worth 45 million, but we wouldn't be paying 45 million up front. It wouldn't be 45 million out of the 60 odd million, right? It's like we haven't just paid out 90 million. This is where the maths falls to pieces, because apparently when Sean or whoever looked at the numbers, they kind of counted all of the payments we have outstanding on the amortization. That's the word. The amortization that we have outstanding on existing contracts, and probably totaled them up. And did a real, that's the number of amortization. Take that out of the capital that we've got. So it don't work like that, because they're staged payments. The amortization is staged payments over several years, so it won't affect the cash flow. The cash flow this year doesn't get impacted by all of the outstanding amortization. There'll be some of it from next year, some of it from the year after, and that's what will happen. Even with Guilherme, who was 19 million, whatever he was, we wouldn't be paying that up front. So to say that we're going to just take that out of the total available money is nonsense. We'll be paying some of that now, some of that next season, some of that the year after. We're still paying for Lucas Paqueta, right? Stage payments. So I don't think you can't just do those sort of maths and in simple figures. You've got to know the actual details of the amortization and when those payments are due, and do the money work it out that way. But either way, we wouldn't be paying 45 million, which is my point, up front for Max Kilman, like we didn't for Guilherme. Right, we'll be paying probably 15, 20 up front for Kilman, and then the rest will be paid over like 2 years. You never pay up front. You never do. Declan Rice was an exception to the rule, actually, because we got paid over 2 years. Should have been over 3 years, right? That was a special deal. Okay, the other ones, so Max Kilman, I think he's gonna come eventually when we can sort it out. Also, another one linked, apparently put a bid in of 16 million for Georges. I'm gonna fuck this up. Mikotadze of Georgia, striker. Good player. Had a good Euros. He's played in Ligue 1. 20 goals with 4 assists out of 30 games, which ain't bad, really, is it, for Metz? He's on loan from Ajax. They had an option to buy, which apparently they're taking up for about 30 million euros. Yo-yos. But apparently a 16 million bid. Is that to Metz or is that to Ajax? Are we kind of assuming the Metz have already done the deal and they're just like making a quick 3 million out of it? Or we're offering that to Ajax? I don't know. But anyway, there you go. I don't think you can change owner. So it must be to Ajax. You can't change owner. That you can't change your registration twice in such a short space of time, can you? There's a limit on that. En-Nesyri, still linked. Probably will end up signing him, I would imagine. Sevilla have now see him leaving. Divan Mabama has walked out the club. Johnson, as we know, has left to Ipswich, and good luck to him. I would have done the same, even though I'm a West Ham supporter. I think he's done absolutely the right thing for himself and his own career. He must have been, in fact, I know for a fact, he was absolutely demoralised by his treatment over the last couple of years from you know who. To have no firm position, like he's a right back, yeah? To not know where your position is in the team, whether you're right back, left back, centre mid, he was playing everywhere. He was even playing on the wing, right? To not have an established position in a team at 23 years old is a crime. He knows to progress, he needs to have an established position. That is right back. He needs to progress at right back and make himself a regular Premier League right back. And I hope he does that at Ipswich. Like I said, good luck to him. He's a nice kid. And I think he's been badly treated. And even from a psychological perspective, a break from West Ham, whether you like the new regime or not, a break from West Ham is the right thing to do. All right. Okay, on to the final story of the day. And this is one that just sends shivers down my spine. For all sorts of ways, actually. Could be good, could be bad. Romelu Lukaku. We're being linked with signing Romelu Lukaku, the 31-year-old enormous striker who scored against us almost every time he played against us. Is this our new strategy? We're going to go after signing players who always score against us, in which case recently we've been, linked with the guy up at Newcastle who does the podcast with Antonio, whose name Wilson. Who else? Chris Woods. I think we should get Chris Woods in as well. Who else used to score against us all the time? Let me know in the comments. But anyway, look, Lukaku is I don't know if you could describe him. He's a big lump, but I don't know if you could describe him as a classic target man. And I think target man is what we're looking at, right? Which is kind of what En-Nesyri is. I look at Lukaku, the way, give him ball to feet on the sort of half turn on the shoulder of the defender. I liken him more to be an Arnautovic type of player. At least he could be. But whether that will lend itself to a Lopetegui team, I don't know. Again, this could be bullshit. This could be nonsense. But anyway, I'm not against it. I think he's a good player. And on his day, totally unplayable. 31 years old, probably got a couple of years left. As long as the price was right, like I said earlier, it's all about a value for money. If you can get a player like that, even though they're at the arse end of their career, if you can strain a couple of years of good quality Premier League football out of them for not much money, then that's good business. And that's what we've got to be in now. We've got to be in the world of good business. It's all about the greater good, innit? Right, so that's me done. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel Claret and Booze here on YouTube, and hit the bell notification icon. It helps us a lot. Until next time, see you soon. Come on, you irons.